Who's that coming down the track? Who's that coming down the track? It's a mean machine in red light. Mean machine in red light. Ain't nothing finer in the red. Ain't nothing finer in the red. Them drunk are marching straight there. Them drunk are marching straight there. Come on, come on, yeah.
What's up, y'all? This is John and Caleb back for another episode of the Nothing Finer podcast. Tonight, we are doing another episode of You're Either a Goat or You're Not. This is not going to be every episode we do this off season. Caleb, I'll let him talk about it, but he has a lot going on at home. And I am attempting to relax because it went straight from football season to work football season, if you will, and just trying to take a minute to take a breath. But so we are going to get into some more stuff soon. We are working on doing a baseball episode later, in some point in the next week or so. But I need some help from you guys. One, two things. First thing, vote for us in the Connect Savannah Best Podcast. You know how to find it. Go to our Instagram, find the link in the bio. If you can't, just Google Connect Savannah Best Podcast. You will find us there. And then, second thing, we are supposed to do next week our annual Nothing Finer Awards, the Golden Kegs. And if you have a nominee for Offensive Freshman of the Year, Defensive Freshman of the Year, Offensive Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, Play of the Year, play, not player, Breakout Player of the Year, and Lumberjack of the Year. Send that in to any of our social medias, and you will get added because we are putting those up for vote probably starting Monday, I would think.
Sick.
To do that episode later next week. So, if you want to take part in the voting for the Nothing Finer Awards, also known as the Golden Kegs, send us your nominations. Start voting through the story on our Instagram on Monday. And I know I've already talked way too much. Caleb, how are you doing? What are you drinking?
I am doing pretty well, catching up on some sleep. In case anyone listening didn't know, we brought home a baby last week, and
Wait, hold up. Did you steal a baby?
we procured a baby the legal way.
That still is very open to interpretation. I mean,
No,
we're in the era of Epstein emails, so like I'm
yeah, it is my baby, it is my wife's baby, and
okay.
and
All right,
everything happened the natural way.
all right. There you go.
All right, so not getting hadn't gotten a whole lot of sleep, but starting to get more now. And I still don't fully know if that's just because the baby is not getting up as much or if I'm just not noticing it. But
You know what? Either way, you feel better.
yeah, I'm a winner, so I'll take it.
Um,
And I'm drinking a protein shake. So how are you?
I was about to say, has the baby driven you to drink yet?
Uh, we're getting there. It's not so much the baby, it's more the other child wanting more attention because she sees the baby getting all the attention. That's what's getting me there.
Yeah, fair, fair. Especially being an only child up until this point, but
Yeah.
yeah, that's got to be a tough transition. I am still an only husband, so I get all the
Yeah.
attention that I don't want. Um, But no, I'll be honest, y'all. I've had a great day. This morning went to traffic court. If you notice, if you're on YouTube, you notice I don't have a hat. Like I've done something with my hair. It's because I went to traffic court this morning. I put in my gold plugs instead of my normal ones, trying to look good for the judge because I knew the judge was a female. It
Mm,
worked. Your boy paid a small fine, no points on his license or his
right.
insurance.
Let's go.
We'll call it a split decision if you want to go with fighting metaphor, because they did get money out of me, but I got everything I wanted out of them. So I'll say that I won that.
Yeah, that's a dub for sure.
Then I get home from work, go play a Glow doubles disc golf tournament this afternoon. Win in a playoff, win first place in a playoff. So I take home some cash money there. Get to come home and talk about the greatest wide receiver in Georgia football history, while drinking a little bit of the same thing I was drinking the other night, which is Penelope Single Barrel Strength. And by a little, I mean truly a little. I had a few beers. I have to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning to go to a doctor's appointment. Like I'm already gonna regret this glass of whiskey, so I'm trying to limit it to just this one.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, busy day today, but
A lot
you
of
won in
wins,
the
you know.
courtroom, one on the disc golf course, and now you get to decide who wins this, which is fun.
All right, so just like last week, Caleb did all the work. I did nothing, so I don't have an outline pulled up. This is all on him. He's going to give me all the information, all the details, all the names. I promise for a few of these, I will do some work, probably more on the defensive side because that's kind of where it's how my brain works.
Mm.
But greatest wide receiver in the history of Georgia football. Ready for some arguments?
Yep, so we'll get started. Like the quarterback episode, I did narrow it down to 5, which was insanely tough this time because there's more than one wide receiver on the field at a time, a lot of the time, as you know. So there have been a lot of wide receivers that are in contention for the best in Georgia history. So some of my honorable mentions might just shock you from the fact that they're honorable mentions, but I had to, like, I had to narrow it down. So, first honorable mention is probably going to be the one that shocks you the most. George Pickens is an honorable mention, which sounds insane as I say it out loud. I would have loved to include him in the top 5. And if he was actually able to play for his full Georgia career, he probably would have easily been at the top of this list.
Yeah,
But,
that was going to be my reaction. Is that it's not so much that George Pickens is not worthy
hmm
of a top five spot, but
he
it
just didn't have enough tape at Georgia to.
it's not. I mean, not even he didn't have enough tape. The tape that he did have was in legitimately the two worst seasons of the last decade,
Yeah, yeah.
at least offensively, because 2016 was rough, but like there was bright spots. There was no
hmm
bright spot
Nothing,
offensively
nothing
in
in
2019.
2019.
No,
Yeah.
and
And in
2020 was
2020,
tough.
we had to flip our identity around 3 times that season to figure it out.
Yeah, so
And he
like
missed some games in 2020. So,
yeah, it's just it's tough considering the years that he was on the roster.
yeah. Which I mean, there's another candidate on this list that was on the roster for a couple of tough years, but his play sort of outshined that. Um, whereas Pickens is more known for what he did after he left Georgia right now. Uh,
And also, he has the best type of CTE if he's on your team. Like it
that's
just if you give me George Pickens and say, "Hey, like he's going to get one miraculous catch for 60 yards and also fight a defensive back every game,"
yeah.
I'd probably take it, you know?
Yeah, I mean, who wouldn't? All right, another guy I couldn't include just because there's not enough data, Zachariah Branch. Uh, Very similar vein. I do truly think if he stayed another year, he would have been firmly in the conversation here. But obviously, somebody gave him a very high draft evaluation. It is what it is.
A draft evaluation he deserves. It's
Yeah,
not
for sure.
inflated. Um it's one of those, boy, I wish he would have entered the portal after his freshman season. I get why he didn't.
hmm
He was supposed to be the next big thing at USC under Lincoln Riley. But if he'd have come to Georgia his sophomore season, F him.
Yeah, yeah, man, I can only imagine. But then again, he probably would have dropped the ball a whole bunch that season because Carson Beck was throwing it to him. But
Facts. It depends. I really think it depends on how many illicit photographs Carson Beck sent to his girlfriend through Snapchat. Um,
mhm,
but I really think that the wide receivers gave Carson like a one or two, like, oh, it was the wrong person. And then the third one
right,
is where it's just like, I want you to never play in the NFL.
right. Uh, anyway, Malcolm Mitchell. He's mainly here because I knew him personally in high school, so I wanted him here. But he had a lot of big moments as well at Georgia. So hard to leave him completely out of this podcast when talking about great Georgia receivers. Tavares King is a guy I actually had in the top five at first. I had a whole outline typed out with Tavares King in here, partially just because of some incorrect information. I thought he was the closest since Terrence Edwards to hit to 1,000 yards, and he was not, but he still came very close to 1,000 yard season his
He
senior
was the
year.
closest wide receiver, wasn't he?
No, one of the guys on this list got 13 yards closer
Oh,
one
okay.
season.
Okay. All
But
right.
it was close. It was close. And the only reason I didn't end up including him here is because he's kind of the same archetype as AJ Green, but not as good and not as versatile. So I thought, there's no way his name will come up once we actually come to narrowing it down to the best.
The thing about Boris King is if you took Georgia's offense in 2019 and 2020 and flipped it to defense, that's what Tavares King played with.
Yep, yep. I
Also
have a
known
note about
as
somebody else on this list for that reason.
Yeah, also known as Todd Grantham defenses.
Yeah.
Just to be point blank. Uh,
Hmm.
but I think if Tavares King had played with a, let's put it like this, if Tavares King had played with a Kirby Smart offensive line and defense, he probably has
Yeah.
over 1,000 yards. He probably also then has an entirely different NFL career because he's drafted to a different spot and evaluated differently.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, what's tough is Tavares King had 2 years of Willie Martinez and then 3 years of Todd Grantham. So
Also known as 5 years of
the
what
defense
the
randomly giving up 40 points for no reason. Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And then my last honorable mention, of course, is the greatest athlete to ever come through the University of Georgia. And he's once again excluded from the list to give the others a chance. A man who moved from quarterback to wide receiver because he was too good at quarterback. Logan Gray had to be excluded from this list for obvious reasons.
Also, honorable mention, Arian Smith. While as
Yeah.
a wide receiver one, he couldn't quite catch the ball at the times that he needed to. When he was intermittent playing or wide receiver three, he was the most electric player on the field every single play. And without Arian Smith at wide receiver three, Georgia probably has one or zero national championships in the 2020s.
How
So,
dare you make the assumption that he's not included in the top five? I'm just kidding. He's not included in the top
okay.
five. Good shout. Okay.
I was real concerned for a second that I made myself look like an ass. But no, I truly believe that without Arian Smith playing the role that he did, Georgia has one to zero national
Yeah.
championships in the 2020s.
I can certainly name at least one game we don't win without him.
Right. And the
Yeah.
problem is he is a role player that was forced into a playmaker role.
Hmm. Yeah, and
Uh,
that was never going to suit him.
right. So,
Yeah,
all
still
right.
should catch the ball, but yeah. All right. So I ordered these in order of chronologically, who was there first. So first on the list is Terrence Edwards, who was there from 1999 to 2002, 204 receptions in his career for 3,093 yards and 30 receiving touchdowns. First and only receiver, obviously, to have 1,000-yard season in Georgia history. Played a huge role in Georgia's 2002 championship season, SEC championship season, excuse me, and then went on to spend a cup of coffee with the Falcons before having a nice lengthy career in the Canadian Football League. As a side note here, I put in here, I need more highlights from this time period to be available. There's a couple of Terrence Edwards highlight reels out there that are very short, but I know the archived footage exists out there. We need more people on that.
And it also, based on just the numbers alone, you would assume that he averaged like 20 yards a catch.
He was a pretty big deep threat. Yeah.
Bec-
He
like, because just, based on recent history, if you go like Zachariah Branch receptions and yards numbers, that the math don't math when it comes to Terrence Edwards.
yeah.
So I wish I was old enough to know what it was like to just be like, oh, screw it, Terrence down there somewhere, and him come up with that play.
Hmm.
And the film's not there for anything but like 2 or 3 games that season. We talked about them over the years, uh, but also shout out Terrence. We've been trying to get you on the podcast for a couple of years now. We'd appreciate it.
Yeah, come on now. Look, you're in our top 5. Let's we're nice
I
to
would
you. Come on.
love for you to get on here and make your case of the
Yeah,
greatest Georgia wide receiver of all time.
yeah, for real. Let's do it. I mean, you know, there are certain numbers that are very much in his favor. So I think he could make a solid argument. I wish I had more like moments to talk about with him because these other guys we've got moments that we could probably really dive into. Like you, he was a little before my time.
I was going to say, I think part of it's just the age that
Yeah,
that both of us are, and even if we had Mike on the show, I don't think any of us go back far enough to remember specific Terrence Edwards plays. Um,
right.
so it just kind of
All
is
right.
what it is for our age group because none of these old heads is putting highlight videos on YouTube.
That's yeah, factual. All right. Maybe if we had more Terrence Edwards highlights on the YouTube, uh, make a deal with Wheels or something to post a few, we would be able to talk more about you. Let's talk about my first favorite Georgia receiver from the time that I started getting into football, Muhammad Massaquoi, who was there from 2005 to 2008. Very reliable guy. Had 158 receptions for 2,282 yards. Only 16 receiving touchdowns, which surprised me through his
Shocking,
career. It's
truly.
a very surprisingly low number. Then had a decent stint in the NFL, mostly with the Cleveland Browns. Statistically, his best season was 2008. Actually, had two receivers go over 900 yards in 2008, and he was one of them. But I remember him better for 2006 and 2007. And I think that's partly because somebody else on this list kind of overshadowed him in 2008. But when I think of Muhammad Massaquoi, the big plays that really come to mind are the game-winning touchdown and two-point conversion against Georgia Tech in 2006 with the Larry Munson call. That's just instantly, that's where my brain goes when I hear the name Massaquoi.
And if I'm not mistaken, Massaquoi also played for the Braves, or not the Braves, the Falcons at some point. Um,
I'm gonna fact check and just see. You might be right because the Falcons did have a tendency to sign Georgia guys very late. No, he played for the Jaguars for a cup of coffee. Never played for the Falcons.
I all right. I could have sworn he played for the Falcons at some point. Maybe it was like a preseason scout team situation late in his
Could have
career.
been something not officially listed where he kind of worked
Um,
out with them and did something. I don't know.
where did Muhammad go to high school? And I know this is a wild question to ask.
That is a great question. He went okay, so he played high school football at Independence High School, which is in I think Charlotte, North Carolina. Yeah. His team did not lose a single game while he was there and won four straight North Carolina 4AA state championships. He played with Chris Leak and Hakeem Nicks for the record.
Okay, that explains why. So, if y'all listen to the show for a while, you know that I don't necessarily. It's probably due to the number of brain injuries that I've had, but like Georgia's 2007 season, I barely remember, and I really start remembering in 2009. Um, but there are things I remember about Muhammad Massaquoi. One of those is my I have family that played against him in high school and then the college career and then the pro career, including a slight stint with the Falcons that I think it was just the preseason, but I watched those preseason games with my family member that played against him in high school. So that's why it sticks out so far
Mm.
in my so I don't remember a ton about him at Georgia, just being 100% transparent, but I do remember a lot about him, the player. Um, and I mean, I don't have anything negative to say about the guy. So,
Oh yeah. Yeah, he was incredibly clutch. One of my favorite plays of his was an 84-yard touchdown pass against Florida in that game that included the Gator Stomp. Um, he just he always seemed. I hate to say he was Matthew Stafford's number one guy because Matthew Stafford was very good at spreading the ball around, but he kind of was Matthew Stafford's number one guy.
every quarterback has a guy that you throw it to when you think that nobody else is going to catch it.
Yeah, yeah. When you need something to happen, when it's 2006 against Georgia Tech and you're down 12-7 and you need somebody to catch that ball in the end zone. That was
Yeah,
Muhammad Massaquoi. And I hate to bring that play up again, but again, it just sticks so strongly in my mind because I remember sitting there watching that game.
yeah. No, in 2007 there was a ton of games that came down to one play, and I think that the closeness of so many of those games is what brings it so much into people's heads.
Hmm.
Because I mean, I think a lot of us remember, and even me, for someone that has brain injuries and a bad memory, like I remember rewatching to a lot of 2007 games better than I remember being at some of the 2021 games,
Mm,
just because there was more memorable things that happened.
yeah.
So
I can believe that was a memorable season for sure. Lots of big moments there. Just a shame the BCS system the way it was decided to let
man, imagine a
LSU jump
four
us there.
team or 12-team playoff in '07.
Golly, Georgia would have killed that playoff back then.
Oh, a 12-team playoff in '07. We need, all right, pause. We need to get a graphic going for how many conferences would have been involved in a 12-team playoff in '07.
Oh gosh, yeah. The whack would have been involved in a 12-team playoff in '07. Let that
Conferences that
sink in.
haven't existed in a decade
Big
are
East would
involved
have
in
been
it.
there. I mean, come on.
The Big East may have had the most teams in the 12-team playoff in '07.
Yeah, what a time to be alive. I miss the Big East. I mean, technically it still exists, but come on now.
It doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah,
It's like the
let's get
Ottoman
real.
Empire turned into Turkey. Come on now.
Right. Yeah. Basketball's not a sport. All right.
Facts.
uh, another name on the list now, who really, really had to be here, AJ Green. I remember
Yes.
them talking about recruiting this guy and what a big deal this was going to be for Georgia. This was a big part of the reasoning behind putting Georgia at number one in the nation in 2008. Um, he was there from 2008 to 2010, 166 receptions for 2,619 yards, 23 receiving touchdowns total. He very quickly forced Georgia to make him their number one X receiver
Yeah.
in 2008. I was watching some highlights earlier. It was Arizona State, which was 3 or 4 games in when he's really established himself as the number one guy. Freshman year, he had 963 receiving yards, the closest we've had to a 1,000-yard season since Terrence Edwards. Most people remember him for, being a big 50-50 ball catcher, making spectacular grabs over the heads of defenders, always getting both feet down because he's getting ready for that NFL contract. But he could really play any role. He caught screens and broke multiple tackles, took end arounds and took off with all of his speed. Like watching his highlights is really like watching a highlight reel of all of the honorable mentions put together.
That's
He
a
just
good comp.
had he just had so many. He was a Swiss Army knife. And you could see it because he went on to have a 12-year career in the NFL. As
And more
crazy
than
as it's
likely be a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Yeah, Yeah, crazy as it sounds, he was playing for the Arizona Cardinals during Georgia's national championship seasons.
Yeah.
Three-time All SEC, two-time All American, went to the Pro Bowl in each of his first 7 seasons in the NFL. Like this guy has excelled at every single level.
If
Um,
age had not caught up with AJ Green, he would still be somebody's wide receiver one.
yes, absolutely. He was a phenomenon. Instantly the brain goes to the Colorado catch
Yeah.
that didn't look physically possible.
Which was then shortly replicated by somebody that probably should have been in the honorable mentioned list, and Terry Godwin.
Yeah, well, yeah. How did I not mention Terry Godwin
I,
in this? I'm a
I,
failure of a human being.
no, I didn't think about him until I thought about that catch.
Yeah, yeah. But then I saw that this highlight reel I watched of him yesterday when I was doing research um, included a lot of the 2008 Alabama game, which made me very sad. But it also
Fair.
made it very clear he was the only one trying on offense in that game in the first half. Um, because he was still making crazy catches over those defenders in that game. I can't really think of any, and this is kind of, I guess, the one knock. I can't really think of any like super clutch game-winning play he made, but sometimes that doesn't matter when you're just that good at everything you're doing.
Yeah, it also like I think it's a lot more difficult to talk about the wide receiver play in this situation because it also wide receiver is one of those positions that comes down so much to what the other positions are doing.
Hmm.
Because you can be a great wide receiver with a great quarterback, but a god awful offensive line, and
Yeah,
nobody knows.
exactly.
Or you can be a great wide receiver with a great offensive line and bad quarterback, and nobody knows.
As he
So,
had for 2 of his seasons at
uh,
Georgia. So,
right. So it's one of those things of wide receiver, you have to have somebody to throw the ball, somebody to protect the guy that throws the ball, and then you have to perform.
hmm
But I feel like AJ Green, because of what he did in his time, it didn't matter that for a couple of years he didn't necessarily have somebody throwing the ball. He didn't have an offensive line to protect the guy to throw the ball. He was so good at what he did, he transcended that
hmm
and became that top pick for the Bengals,
yeah,
who couldn't bring him a Super Bowl, and that's their fault.
yeah, it is their fault entirely because he was trying. And imagine,
They, I was supposed to say they had AJ Green and Joe Burrow for at least 1 year, didn't they? Or did
mm,
he leave
I,
right as Joe Burrow
well,
came in?
let me see what year he left, because I'm now picturing prime AJ Green with Joe Burrow,
And
and it's
that's
making me
unfair.
feel things.
That's
Yeah,
unfair.
he had one season. They had one season together.
You know what? The Bengals should be dissolved as a franchise because they had AJ Green and Joe Burrow and got zero Super Bowls out of it.
Here's the thing though, is Joe Burrow did catch a touchdown pass, or sorry, AJ Green did catch a touchdown pass from Joe Burrow in his last season with the Bengals, and that tape is there somewhere. He caught 2 total touchdowns.
Did he get
Finished.
hurt or did the Bengals just get stupid?
The Bengals must have just got stupid. They put a franchise tag on him that year. Um, he was returning from injury because he tore some ligaments in his ankle the season before.
You know what? Cincinnati, be ashamed of yourself.
Yes, be ashamed of
First, be
yourself.
ashamed of yourself because you're in the state of Ohio. Second, be ashamed of yourself because of what you did to AJ Green when he had rookie Joe Burrow. Because the
Hmm.
very next season, y'all made the Super Bowl. All you had to do was sign AJ Green to an extension, not sign Eli Apple, and you probably win a Super Bowl.
Probably so. Probably so. He's that good.
Shame on
All
you.
right. All right. Based on some of the things I said earlier, some of our listeners might scratch their heads when they first hear this name, but let me explain. I've got a Donnie Mitchell on this list. Good old
Yeah,
AD Mitchell at Georgia for 2 seasons, 21 and 22. Missed some of the 22 season. 38 receptions for 560 yards, had 7 total receiving touchdowns, which is surprisingly low in my opinion. Why AD Mitchell and not George Pickens or Zachariah Branch? And I will gladly give you the answer. Uh, while he only has about a season and a half of data as well, there are moments that AD Mitchell is responsible for without which Georgia does not win a national championship in 21 or 22.
facts.
Uh, in particular, the catches against Alabama in the national championship game in 21 and the game against Ohio State in 22 that gave us the lead in both of those games. And in both cases, he makes the catch on his way out of bounds with defenders draped over him. He had to get it just right to make those catches, and he did, and it won us those games. The
And
stats and the time don't add up, but no receiver in the history of Georgia football is this directly responsible for plays that led to Georgia's national championships. And
it,
Arian Smith's the only one I'll even hear the argument for.
uh, yeah, no, I agree with that 100%. Here's the thing: it, there's no world in which you watch a Georgia national championship highlight video and do not see half of AD Mitchell's touchdowns as a
Yep.
Bulldog. And like, I get it. He was a big game merchant. But without
Okay.
him being a big game merchant, how many of those games did Georgia win? How because how many of those plays he had what three? If we're just going to the Alabama and Ohio State games, just those two games, which are not the only two playoff games he caught touchdowns in, by the way,
Hmm.
but just those two games, he caught three touchdowns, and all three of those had to be reviewed because of how insane they were.
Yeah.
Wait, what? I will gladly outright say, without AD Mitchell, Georgia has zero national championships in the 2020s.
Yeah.
Without AD Mitchell, Kirby Smart probably does not have a job today,
Yeah.
at least at Georgia. Like, I understand that what he did at Texas and what he did at the Colts, and I don't even know who he plays for anymore. I don't
He plays for the
necessarily.
Jets. He got his first NFL touchdown back in November for 52 yards. You want to guess who he was playing against?
I get Jets.
He
Was he
plays for the
playing against the
Jets.
Raiders?
It was not against the Raiders.
All right, tell me.
It was the Falcons.
Also tracks.
Yeah.
Because the Falcons either allow 0 points or 30 points every
Yep.
week.
Yep. No in between.
Uh, but yeah, no, I truly believe that without AD Mitchell, Georgia probably has zero national championships in the 2020s.
Yeah.
So I don't care what he did afterwards at Texas. I don't care
Yep.
that he went to Texas. I don't care what he did for the Colts. I don't care what he did for the Jets. AD Mitchell deserves to be on this list because without him, we are still hearing 1980 jokes.
Yep. He was also involved in 2 different trick plays where Stetson Bennett handed the ball off and then the ball carrier passed the ball in the end zone. And those plays made me very happy. So I wanted to make sure I mentioned it.
Absolutely.
He caught one of them and he threw one of them. And the only reason AD Mitchell does not have a touchdown pass on his stat sheet is because his throw was during a 2-point conversion.
What game was that during? Because I remember the play. I don't remember who
SEC
it was against.
championship against LSU. Yeah.
Ah, right.
Yeah.
I
I want to
will.
say he threw it to McConkey for that one. I know Kenny McIntosh threw the one he caught against Michigan.
I will hold my tongue with the swinger jokes that I want to make against LSU.
Fair enough. Oh man. All right. Speaking of Lad McConkey, he is the last name on this list that we'll be talking about there for 3 seasons from 21 to 23. Came in as a 3-star guy, but with a lot of hype because everyone knew if Kirby's looking at this guy, he must see something.
Do
Uh,
you have in your notes here which two Division I schools offered him a scholarship?
I do not.
So here's a fun fact: he had two Division One scholarships and one notable preferred walk-on offer. First scholarship, or no, we'll start with the walk-on offer.
Yeah, yeah.
Walk-on offer, Tennessee. First scholarship offer, Chattanooga. Second scholarship offer, Georgia.
Yeah. I will say I know somebody, we got a family friend who was in a similar situation. He got a small scholarship offer for Georgia and a preferred walk-on at Tennessee. And he took the preferred walk-on at Tennessee offer because he thought it was a better deal. Look what you could have become. You could have become like Lad McConkey, but for offensive linemen. But anyway,
And let me guess, he works for Enterprise.
pretty much. He did get some playing time on his senior day.
It's more than I
Uh,
got, so like
yeah.
I can't say a whole
Yeah,
lot, but
can't argue. Yeah, so he had Lad McConkey had 119 receptions for 1,687 yards, 14 touchdowns. Uh, really, I like to think of him as the lumberjack of those 21 and 22 teams that won national championships. The guy just worked hard until he had to stay on the field. Could route any five-star corner out of his shoes. I would call him the best route runner we've ever had at Georgia.
I'd agree with that.
He was a great blocker for his size too. Never afraid to put his face in somebody's chest. And then, in particular, putting him on the same side of the field as Brock Bowers was Todd Monken and Mike Bobo's favorite cheat code because one of them was going to be open.
Imagine if, let's just say, an NFL team, because all three of those four individuals that you named are currently in the NFL. Imagine if an NFL team just gave up everything because they had a decent enough quarterback and was just like, hey, we're going to get the best two white pass catchers still in the NFL to just run routes
Yeah.
because one of them will be open.
Yes. That is factually correct.
And once again, the Browns are going to ruin somebody's career. Or the
Yeah,
Raiders.
it's a shame.
Or the Chargers, actually. They all three went to the worst situations imaginable.
They really did. I'm just hoping the Browns ruin Todd Monken quickly and he wants to be the offensive coordinator at Georgia again. That's what I'm hoping for. Uh, all right. Lad McConkey, also a really underrated deep shot receiver. But during that Stetson Bennett era, anytime the defense got a big momentum play and the offense wanted to take a shot, it seemed like the shot was to Lad McConkey, and it seemed like it always hit. There's
Shout out Ole Miss 23.
Yeah, big one in
Of
20.
where he ran three guys out of their shoes and
Mm-hmm.
got down to the 1 yard line.
Yep. Tennessee in 2022, after what should have been a safety, followed by a punt, Stetson Bennett just said, okay, this is going to be a touchdown. Lad McConkey just destroyed some defender and caught it sliding into
Oregon,
the end zone. Oregon.
of
Um,
where Stetson and Ladd just took multiple ankles and
yes.
said, "Hey man, here's a touchdown."
The Orange Bowl in 23, where he
That
made the entire second team Florida State defense miss in
I
the
feel like it's
backfield.
honestly just disrespectful to college football to talk about that game.
Fair enough. And then, of course, he famously got on his donkey in the national championship game against TCU.
That we did have a T-shirt about that, and it was the out audio for the show for like a year and a half.
Yeah, yeah. What's crazy is I still run into people, or I'll talk about it with people, and they hate that call, and I
So
don't understand it. They take everything too seriously, I guess. But
did
Mc-
here's the thing: if that person also, if they hate McConkey got on his donkey, they have to hate stepped on their face with a hobnail boot and broke their nose,
yeah,
or
exactly.
or here's a hot take: they're Gen X and claim to be tough while they're too sensitive for their own good
Yeah.
and think that everything was just better in the 80s and 90s.
There's a lot of those out there, so it
That's a
very easily
majority
could
of
be
Gen
that.
X in my
Yes,
experience, actually.
absolutely, absolutely true. All right, well, that is our top five that I've got laid out here: Terrence Edwards, Muhammad Massaquoi, AJ Green, AD Mitchell, Vlad McConkey. Give me your thoughts, and then I've got some thoughts on who I think it is as well.
All right, so because I truly am going through this blind, I do not have anything pulled up. I need you to answer a couple questions for me.
Of course.
How many receptions did Zachariah Branch have this year?
Oh, good question. Let me look that up because he wasn't on the list. I didn't put it in my stats. Let's
It
see.
was 80 something.
Zachariah. Yeah, 81 receptions
All
for
right.
811 yards.
Okay.
So right at 10 yards per
So
catch.
so I'm speaking out loud to what's going through my head right now. It's tough for me to say that I'm just while if we were going for big play guys, I would say AD Mitchell, but I think he's out of the list.
Yeah,
I think he is number 5 on the list just because he transferred out. Like
I can agree with that. Yeah.
I
He's
I
here so we
still
can give him his flowers.
right, I still absolutely love the guy. If AD Mitchell sent our Instagram a message tomorrow and said, "Can I come on the show?" I would make it happen. Right?
Mhm.
He is still a DGD in our eyes,
Yep.
but he can't be a goat because he left.
Yeah.
I struggle to put. All right, so I, I'm I'm trying to figure out how to say this. To me, after AD Mitchell, it comes down to AJ Green and Lad
Okay.
because
Interesting.
and so because of that, AJ Green, he's one of the best to ever do it at Georgia. He is a first or second ballot Hall of Famer in the NFL. While he has 0 Super Bowls, you cannot control what your front office does, right?
Hmm.
And so I get that. I don't hold 0 Super Bowls against AJ Green. Vlad McConkey has 2 national championships. He has multiple significant plays in those national championships. And the reason I'm going to give it to AJ is because if you go yards per reception, AJ AJ is more significant.
I think that's a fair argument. I think that's a really good measure for a receiver.
And so I hate to interrupt again, but it's tough because of the McConkey's on his donkey, the Ole Miss
Hmm.
play, all of the, especially being so recent as Georgia fans, we think of those when you're talking about the greatest Georgia receiver of all time.
Hmm.
And I think Lad McConkey going from 3-star to one, legitimately in the argument and top two, and depending on who you're talking to, not two. Like I think that is extremely impressive. But to me, if we're if we're having this conversation in 10 years and Lad McConkey and Justin Herbert lead the Chargers to a Super Bowl, I think it's Lad, right? But I do my best to balance college production and NFL production, and based on that, I've got to go with AJ Green with a soft second to Lad.
Yeah, I'll say Lad McConkey is probably my favorite Georgia wide receiver of all time at this point.
Yeah,
I have a
I
lot of feelings for him, a lot of love for him. But yeah, I think it's AJ Green. And I will say, unlike the quarterback episode, I think there's a real argument for every guy who I had in this top five. Um,
I think AD Mitchell's the only guy that
yeah,
doesn't have a
a
firm argument.
surefire way to
Yeah,
that top spot. Yeah, I can agree with that.
yeah.
But but yeah, I think when you look at AJ Green. He's got the talent credentials, he's got the stats, he's got the great moments, he has the NFL credentials, and more importantly to me, everything that we have praised all the guys on this list for, AJ Green did all of that at a very high to elite level. He's got the big spectacular catches over people. He's got the route running. He's got the big plays. He's got making people miss. I can't necessarily think of a game-winning play he made a lot of times because in these big games, the team around him didn't put him in position to be able to even have a chance at a game-winning play. But the individual play that he put on was really just incredible. And I will never forgive Willie Martinez for the fact that we had Matthew Stafford, AJ Green, and Muhammad Massaquoi on the same team in 2008, and we couldn't even win the state of Georgia.
Yeah, that really is on the defense.
Yeah. I mean, like, not scoring against Florida and Alabama is one thing, although they gave up a bunch of points to those teams too. But Georgia Tech, like, the number of points they scored 42 points against Georgia Tech. That should be enough to win you a football game against Georgia Tech.
Outside of that, when's the last time Georgia scored 42 points and lost a football game?
That's a great question. I'm gonna have to see if an AI knows the answer to that one because
Yeah,
that's a
because
lot of
it's.
research in a short time.
I mean, I wasn't expecting you to know the answer to that question, but like the fact that we have to think about it and ask Google or AI, like it means that that game's on the defense.
Right. Completely. I actually am really curious now, so I'm typing the question in.
Yeah, and so like I tried, I tried to talk myself out of AJ Green, right? But who else could it reason? You could give me an argument that I would listen to for Terrence Edwards. You could give me
Yeah.
an argument that I would listen to for Lad McConkey. Like you could give me an argument that I would listen to, but I think that I would still come back to AJ Green's done it at every level, at the highest level, and there's nobody else that's done it quite like him. Have you had any luck on the scoring research?
No, Perplexity has told me it can't do that in a reasonable amount of time.
All
Which
right,
I mean,
well,
it's a lot of game logs to go through, but maybe I will do the research and we will figure it out.
all right, Willie Martinez, it's all your fault.
Yeah, that's
Hate to say it.
I
Actually, I
hate to
don't.
say. I don't. Yeah.
All
Willie
right.
Martinez, everything is your fault and you should be ashamed of yourself.
All right, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of the Nothing Finer podcast. You're either a GOAT or you're not. This is part two. We are going to go through every big position group. Obviously, running back, tight end, linebacker, defensive. We're probably going to group offensive line and defensive line together because how many of you guys want to hear us compare offensive tackles from 3 decades? Not very many people. No hate to offensive tackles or guards or centers or defensive tackles or nose guards or defensive ends. But like
Come
just
on now.
generally, the average football fan does not understand the nuance of the difference between playing center and guard and tackle. And I feel like it would just kind of be a wasted episode. So probably going to loop offensive line together, defensive line together, and then edge rusher, whether that is defensive end or outside linebackers, probably going to go into one. But we're going to do those throughout the offseason.
I did find the answer to the
Okay.
question. It was more recent than that Georgia Tech game, the
Where they
last time we gave
allowed
up
more
40,
than
where they scored more
42
than
points.
42 points
Scored more than
and still
42.
lost.
Scored more than
Um,
42 and lost. All right, let me
you
think.
should be able to guess at least the defensive coordinator for the game, and you won't need three guesses.
Okay. Give me a year range.
Okay. I want to give you the funniest year range I can for this, so I need to look something up.
All right, give me like 3 years. Give me a 3 year range.
Okay, yeah. Well, it was going to be about that. The range I was going to give you, it was between 2010 and 2013.
Uh,
And I
two
used that
generationally
year.
terrible defenses. Oh
I
my.
was I was going to say I used those years very specifically for a reason, because it was one defensive coordinator during that time.
It was Todd Grantham as defensive coordinator.
Yes,
I'm just based on the hate in my heart, I'm going to assume it was a loss to South Carolina.
you were exactly right in 2011.
Thanks, Todd.
Yep. At home.
Yeah, thanks, Todd. Um, I say on the podcast quite a bit that we hate Steve Spurrier. Actually, we hate Todd Grantham and the fact that they allowed him to coach at Georgia while Steve Spurrier
Yep.
coached at South Carolina.
Yep. That's it. That's what it is. That was the only time that year, until we played LSU in the SEC championship game, that we'd given up more than 30 points. Well, I take that back. We gave up 35 to Boise State. Other than that,
But I mean, oh, you're bringing up so many bad memories. Why are we doing this?
why are we doing
Um,
this? AJ Green, greatest Georgia wide
AJ Green
receiver of
is
all
is
time.
the is the GOAT wide receiver. Shout out AJ.
Hmm.
You know, none of and I don't want it to come off as we said anything negative about any of these guys, but when you're comparing apples to apples, you got to look at spots.
Yep.
So shout out AJ, you are the greatest Georgia wide receiver of all time. Hopefully until next year, and somebody gets 1,200 yards, and we ask who AJ Green was at the end of the season.
There
Um,
we go.
but that's going to do it for this episode. If you have not already today, vote for us on Connect Savannah's best podcast in Savannah. Anything helps. If you send us a screenshot that shows the time and date that you voted for us for best podcast, you're getting entered in for a prize pack. And I'm just going to be 100% honest. Depending on what size t-shirt you wear, depends on how many shirts you get, along with stickers, koozies. You're getting literally everything podcast branded that I have if we have it in your size.
Mm.
Um, so, like, we're going to be sending y'all a ton of stuff. As of right now, based on the odds, I know who the winner is going to be. So, y'all vote for us, send us screenshots, help us out. My wife will watch Caleb's baby while me, Mike, and Caleb go get obliterated at a open bar. It'd be a good time.
That will be a good time. That sounds like
Um,
exactly what I want in life.
but follow us on social media if you want the way to vote for us at nothing.finder.pod on Instagram, at finderpod on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok. Just look us up. You will find us there. And most importantly, remember there's nothing finer in the land.
And a drunk, obnoxious Georgia fan hates you, Willie Martinez.